evening and welcome to KTN Prime. I'm Edith Kimani.
And good evening, I'm Michael Oyer.
In the highlights.
Postpone ICC trials until after the poll, Ruto supporters say.
Will tribal groupings dictate the next election?
Panic in Mombasa as a 500-kilogram bomb is found.
The Ministry of Justice is really the ministry in charge of the ICC, which is a misconception.
And still on KTN Prime, new Justice Minister at crossroads over ICC cases. New Justice Minister Eugene Wamalwa today attempted to outsmart his doubters who claim he cannot be impartial on the ICC process owing to his association with the G7 camp.
In his first comments on the Kenya cases before ICC since taking over from vocal Mutula Kilonzo, Wamalwa said that what is happening at The Hague only concerns the Internal Security Ministry and the State Law Office. But as KTN's Ann Kiguta reports, Wamalwa's association with the G7 alliance continues to cast aspersions on his ability to defend the cause of justice and to uphold the Constitution.
You may have been used to fiery statements like this from your Justice Minister.
At least you are lucky you belong to G7, I don't. So maybe you will have a you will have a smoother ride.
Well, rest assured you're not likely to hear them again. Giving much credence to what was already publicly feared, new Justice Minister Eugene Wamalwa says he intends to very much mind his own business when it comes to the fate of the Ocampo 4. Wamalwa says that his ministry is not charged with handling matters relating to the International Criminal Court.
There has been a misapprehension about my appointment with this ministry. And there are those who think that the Ministry of Justice is really the ministry in charge of the ICC, which is a misconception.
In fact, some may be forgiven for thinking he's doing much more than minding his own business, but more so, minding that of the hand that fed him his new plum job. You see, Wamalwa is a G7 alliance loyalist. He is part of an alliance that has been keen in defending the Ocampo 4 as their people facing an unfair trial in a Western court that has it in for African leaders. But the Saboti MP says Mutula Kilonzo was overstepping his mandate when making utterances on ICC matters. Wamalwa says the International Crimes Act is clear on how to deal with requests by the ICC and that the minister responsible is the Internal Security Minister, George Saitoti. While analysts agree that his new position is more about political expediency than championing justice or national cohesion or upholding the Constitution, like it or not, he is the man with the title. The question is, does Wamalwa see the conflict of interest between his role as Justice Minister and his political affiliations?
Ministry for Justice should not be looked at as the ministry for the ICC, because it is not.
Perhaps not. Kenyans are likely to have serious trust issues with the Justice and Constitution Affairs Minister, who insists that he will continue attending rallies organized by ICC accused. Can we trust Wamalwa to uphold Chapter 6 of the Constitution that demands Kenya's leaders are those with integrity, given that his closest allies are facing trial for crimes against humanity? Can we trust him to push for tough legislation that will be used to operationalize this chapter of the Constitution rigorously? Now that some of his closest allies are accused of being responsible for Kenya's worst violence, can Wamalwa be trusted to push for a local complementary mechanism to bring justice for the victims of post-election violence? And given his powers, can he be trusted to ensure justice is not tampered with in regards to other local proceedings facing some of the Ocampo 4 here at home? Meanwhile, Germany says it hopes the cabinet reshuffle will not interfere with the reforms process.
When I look at the campaign mood the country is in, I have the feeling that this distracts the attention from the real tasks that are ahead. And for me, the real job to do is to implement the Constitution to put in place a devolved system and to put the counties in the position to function in this devolved system.
For KTN Prime in Nairobi, I'm Anne Kiguta.
The Kalenjin community, under the name Kitwek Group, has officially endorsed Eldoret North Member of Parliament as their preferred presidential candidate in a meeting in Eldoret town that was to bring together leaders from the Kalenjin, Maasai, Turkana and Samburu communities. The leaders say they want the government to write to the United Nations Security Council to defer the ICC charges until after elections, or they will write a petition to members of Parliament through an Act of Parliament to postpone the elections. The leaders from the Kalenjin community are crying foul over the state of the ICC report on the post-election violence, insisting that radio presenter Joshua Arapsang and William Ruto are innocent.
It was a meeting dominated by leaders from the Kalenjin community, with attendance of leaders from Turkana, Samburu and Maasai communities. The leaders say they believe in Ruto's leadership and his URP party.
We therefore endorse the Kalenjin leadership led by Honorable William Ruto as a leader.
The Hague issue took center stage as leaders from the Kalenjin community under a group known as Kitwek gave ultimatum on the International Criminal Court cases. They say that to take a leader to the criminal court is like taking the whole community.
The Kalenjin community, their leaders, the clergy, the businessmen, athletes, the women and the general public did not, and repeat again, did not commit the offenses stated in the ICC charge sheet.
The Kalenjin leaders say they are determined to settle the ICC issue. They now want the government to apply to the United Nations Security Council under Article 16 of the Rome Statute to defer the cases until after elections. The leaders will announce a date when to collect 3 million signatures for the purpose of the petition from the Kenyans. The group also demanded the postponement of the March 2013 elections until ICC cases are concluded. They also claim that they will prevail upon Kalenjin athletes to boycott the July London Olympics if the government does not heed to the petition. They further demanded that the ICC cases be tried in Kenya.
Hapo awali tulikuwa na judicial system ambayo haikuaminika na Wakenya wetu. Leo tumefanya reforms katika judiciary yetu. Na sisi hatutaki kuachwa nyuma kwa sababu tunataka tuwe na wenzetu ambao wana umoja ili tuwe pamoja.
Tutashirikiana na mahakama yote inayozingatia na kusimamia ukweli na haki bila mapendeleo.
They say that such inter-ethnic meetings are just the beginning of many more to come. They say that those afraid of such meetings should not brand them tribal.
Katiba yetu inaturuhusu tuketi chini, tuzungumze, tupange mambo yetu na tuendelee.
Hatuna jamii mwingine, we just want to put the house in order.
The Kalenjin leaders say the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission Chair, Ambassador Bethwel Kiplagat, should resume his rightful position. But will these ethnic groupings propel leaders to the presidency? Masi Kandi reporting for KTN in Uasin Gishu County.
Leaders of the Gikuyu, Embu and Meru Cultural Association, or GEMA, met today to identify a political party to be used by Deputy Prime Minister Uhuru Kenyatta in the next general election. The 4-hour closed-door strategy meeting, however, did not disclose when they will name a suitable political vehicle for Uhuru. Instead, politicians and other leaders who attended the meeting formed a committee to expedite the party identification process, with details emerging that Uhuru might soon decamp from Kanu. Samogina reports.
It was a follow-up meeting to the Limuru 2 GEMA meeting that endorsed Deputy Prime Minister Uhuru Kenyatta for the presidency. The meeting to strategize and identify the party to be used by the Gatundu South MP 2 weeks after he was challenged to identify his presidential party. Top GEMA and Central Kenya leaders attended the meeting, with Uhuru represented by 2 of his aides, Justin Muturi and former Gatanga MP David Murathe. With the details emerging of Uhuru planning to decamp from Kanu, his supporters have moved fast to register PNU alliance, with the likelihood that it will be Uhuru's presidential vehicle to the presidency. But the party is planning to change its name to accommodate alliances. A contest looms in the G7 alliance over the party name to be used as their vehicle.
So the committee has been tasked to look out for that leadership and to consult with them so as to agree with them on the modalities of creating a national political vehicle which will protect not only the political interests of the Gema community, but also look after all the other communities and protect their interests as well.
Reports indicate that one of the key alliance members has rejected KANU and PNU alliance in their current structure unless their names are changed. With PNU having obtained a compliance certificate from the Register of Political Parties, the vehicle whose symbol is a bus lacks a driver to steer it to the elections.
Abia watu wa Gema kama kweli unataka kiti ya urais. And if the answer is yes, you go to number 2. Utuambie utasimama na chama gani?
Mimi nataka muniruhusu kitu kimoja. Muniruhusu mtupatie sio zaidi ya mwezi mmoja. Baada ya mwezi mmoja turudi hapa. Kama tumesikilizana, tuambie vile tumesikilizana. Kama hatujasikilizana, munipatie ruhusa siku hiyo niwaambie mwelekeo ni gani.
The Gema Executive Council meeting also reviewed the implementation of Uhuru 2 resolutions, resolving to form a committee to scrutinize Uhuru's ICC case. The Limuru 2 declaration stated that they will initiate a 2 million signature drive to defer the case facing the DPM until after elections.
The committee has also been tasked to fast-track the collection of 2 million signatures to petition ICC to reschedule the trial so that it does not run concurrently with Kenya's general elections.
You have got a responsibility to do it, and that's why we are pleading with you. You can destroy us or unite us, and we are pleading with you, unite us, because you are the mouth of Kenyans.
Uhuru has postponed KANU NEC meetings 3 days, sending the party officials in panic that the DPM is abetting the death of the former ruling party. Uhuru's proposal to change KANU's name from the Kenya African National Union to Kenya Alliance of National Unity was rejected, prompting him to seek an alternative political vehicle. Samogina, KTN Prime.
And that story brings us to the big question this evening, where we're asking, do you think inter-ethnic groups will dictate the next election?
Please do send your brief comment, but do give us a yes or a no at the beginning of that comment to the number 8040. We'll sample your views at the end of this live newscast.
Well, still on the story of tribal groupings, Gema and Kamatusa met today to discuss what they call issues that affect them commonly. But is it strategy for the next election or just a meeting?
And indeed, are we likely to see other tribes also forming similar groupings to advance their interests? Our senior reporter, Aaron Ochieng, sought expert opinion on why exactly these groups are meeting and what their agenda might be.
It started late last month with a meeting by the Gema community that endorsed Deputy Prime Minister Uhuru Kenyatta as the community preferred presidential candidate. Today, the same group met at a Nairobi hotel as a follow-up to the Limuru meeting. In Eldoret, another meeting was simultaneously taking place under the umbrella of Kamatusa, Kalenjins, Maasais, Turkanas and Samburus. As expected, Kamatusa followed the same script as that played out during the Gema meeting. The endorsement of William Ruto is seen as a choreographed move to show support to the embattled Eldoret North MP, whose confirmed case at the ICC may be his biggest hurdle to presidency. According to analysts, both Gema and Kamatusa meetings lack tangible reasons for their existence.
The only unifying factor for these guys is only one. Attempts to use ethnic mobilization as a tool of defeating accountability. Beyond that, there is nothing that unites these people.
I think Gema is an idea that is essentially dead, and I do not know why they keep reviving it.
Both Kamatusa and Gema meetings reassured the communities that despite the ICC cloud hanging over Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto's head after confirmation of their charges, both are still in the race to State House occupancy. It is an argument that is debatable, and since both Gema and Kamatusa have resolved to collect signatures to petition ICC, it will be an interesting phenomenon to see how realistic it will be.
If today Uhuru Kenyatta endorsed William Ruto of whatever grouping they will create as a presidential candidate, I can give you a guarantee that will be a dead project. On the other converse of it, if Ruto today said our candidate is Uhuru Kenyatta, I can tell you that Karijins will walk out of that arrangement.
The baptism of Uhuru as the natural heir to Kibaki by Limuru 1 is total. It is irreversible. You cannot change it. However, they are also doing it with the ICC in mind, knowing too well that this son of Jomo might not even run.
The two groupings put together incorporates a total of 8 communities, with dominant ones, Kikuyu and Kalenjins, that are highest in population in the country. And suppose voting as a bloc is anything to go with, then the likes of Raila and Kalonzo will have a bit of homework to do. This is if Gema and Kamatusa outfits appeal to the electorates. Aaron Cheng, KTN Prime.
And on security matters, Internal Security Minister George Saitoti has said the fight against terror will be boosted by the passage of 3 pending bills in Parliament that will provide a solid legal framework of handling terror suspects and cases. Saitoti was speaking during a handing over ceremony where British High Commissioner to Kenya, Peter Tiber, donated 6 cars to the Kenya Anti-Terrorism Unit to bolster the unit's efforts in combating terrorism within the country.
The death toll of the Mtwapa twin blast has risen to 2 after a boy who sustained serious injuries died at the Coast General Hospital. The death comes as the British government has donated 4 Toyota Pro Boxes and 2 Toyota Prados to the Anti-Terrorism Police Unit to enable the police unit to respond faster to terror alerts, threats and attacks.
I very much hope that these cars will provide the ATPU with increased mobility to respond quickly to incidents and to help prevent the destruction to lives and to economies which terrorists seek.
However, with 2 terror attacks in just 1 month, it would seem that the police need more than just vehicles to ensure the safety of citizens. Despite no arrests in the 2 attacks in Nairobi and Mombasa, Internal Security Minister George Saitoti says the government is doing all it can to find the perpetrators.
That the government is not going to rest until we get down to the bottom of this matter. We are carrying out intensive investigation to be able to find out where these characters who have committed these heinous crimes are.
Saitoti seemingly admitted that the Kenya police lack the capacity to fight terror within our borders.
I do want to salute our police because we know that you have been working sometimes with inadequate vehicles, with inadequate facilities.
The police is said to be currently questioning individuals said to have information about last week's attack in Mombasa.
Fishermen in Mombasa discovered a 500-kilogram bomb harvested from the waters of the Indian Ocean near Fort Jesus. Bomb experts say the bomb may have been planted in the waters during colonial days and forgotten. Police have sealed off the area as investigations continue.
Fishermen in Mombasa who set out on a fishing expedition last night found their nets heavy with an unexpected catch. About 2 kilometers from the coast, they found a 500-kilogram object which they at first took for a worthless object, a piece of scrap metal from which they hoped to make a little extra money. When they returned to shore, the fishermen took the precaution of alerting the National Museums of Kenya staff, who in turn called in the police. Police officers would find that the mysterious catch was something more sinister, a bomb weighing 500 kilograms that had been in the water for years. Bomb experts dated the bomb back to colonial days. As crowds surged forward to catch a glimpse of the bomb, local leaders contacted Kenyan Navy officers who were expected to carry the bomb out to sea. After years in the salty water, the casing had been corroded, and it was feared that exposure to the sun could prove dangerous.
This one is too big to estimate. I can tell you it can affect even to 3 square kilometers.
The 2 fishermen who found the bomb claim they saw 2 more suspicious objects in the water. Local leaders say they cannot rule out the possibility that there are more weapons in the water.
Ikiwa kwa maji na kuna kitu amekusa hawezi kuleta madhara, lakini ile imeonekana na ni rahisi sana watoto kuharibu ama kuchezea, inaweza kuleta madhara. So tunataka everybody kama fishermen wakiwa kwa maji huko akiangalia kitu kama hiyo afadhali alete kwa security.
Bomb experts are however yet to establish the kind of bomb it was. Wilkisanyabwa, KTN Prime.
The Standard Group Limited has announced a bonus share issue to its shareholders. The shares will be allocated on a ratio of 1:10 in an effort to compensate their shareholders. This was announced by the company's board today as it released its 2011 financial year results.
Despite a challenging financial year characterized by a rise in cost of raw materials due to depreciation of the shilling against international currencies, the group's print business registered a 15% growth. Standard Group's revenues maintained fairly steady at 3.17 billion shillings compared to 3.10 billion shillings in the previous year, with the group's total assets reported at 3.51 billion and a 1.6 billion in shareholders' equity. It is on this basis that the board recommended a bonus share to its shareholders. This, it added, was also aimed at compensating their shareholders in respect to future dividend earnings. In a bid to consolidate gains already made across the media house, the board indicated that some of the changes carried out within its broadcasting division in 2011 were already yielding results. Volatility of the foreign exchange market, sustained inflationary pressure, and high financing remains challenges the board anticipates in the outlook for 2012, even as the board remains optimistic of business growth sustainability strategies for its print, TV and radio broadcast, PDS and online services. Boni Tunya for KTN Prime.
Well, we take a reminder of the big question this evening, and we're asking you, do you think inter-ethnic groups will dictate the next election?
Send your yes or no response with a brief comment, if you please, to 8040. We'll sample some of your views and give you a poll result at the end of this live newscast.
Well, you're watching KTN Prime, and just ahead,
a Mombasa taxi driver is found dead under mysterious circumstances.
Natural beer, sugar-free, truly Kenyan.
Je, unapenda na kuelewa vyema kabumbu?
Basi chukua mic.
Yuko katika eneo la hatari.
Bonga Ball linakuja karibu nawe kutafuta mtangazaji wa Kiswahili wa soka yani kabumbu ukipenda katika Super Sports. Kwa maelezo zaidi nenda katika mtandao ufungue supersports.com na huenda ukawa mtangazaji wetu wa mechi zijazo KPL. Bonga Ball katika ulimwengu wako wa mabingwa Super Sports.
Visit a Furniture Palace showroom and admire our fantastic range of home and office furniture from European and international designs. If you want the latest styles of quality furniture, visit our showrooms in Nairobi and Mombasa. Now recognized as a business super brand in East Africa.
2,500 kilometers, 5 pickups, 1 truck. Don't miss the Nissan Challenge every day from Monday at 8:30 p.m. exclusive on KTN. The Nissan Challenge. Get ready for the ride of your life.
For every 1,000 shillings you deposit into a personal account, or for every 5,000 shillings you deposit into a business account, you get an entry into the Co-op Bank Ongeza Akiba Imarisha Maisha promotion. Win one of 3 brand new Toyota Hilux pickups, 6 Yamaha motorcycles, Samsung Galaxy tabs, daily cash prizes, or the grand prize of 5 million shillings. Ongeza Akiba, Imarisha Maisha. Cooperative Bank, we are you.
Baba boy, tumeushago najua hujalipa dhitima na unafaa kulipa dhitima before deadline. Najua utachukua shortcut kwa neighbor uruke feji. Wewe hujaikimbia hivyo juu dogi zitafunguliwa. Sasa kuepa hiyo dogi utapata muti. Ukifika tu utamsha nyuki. Kuepa hizo nyuki inabidi udevu kwa riba. Ukidevu kwa riba vya zako za mitumba zitaharibika. Zikiharibika utakaa bera, hakuna gari itakubeba. Na juu baisikeli haina bio utafika rate. Na hiyo tutakatiwa sitima kwa sababu wewe haukulipa on time.
Tulia mama boy. Kulipa siku hizi ni easy pay.
Avoid the hustle. Avoid the queues. Pay your electricity bill 2 days before the due date or earlier at any Easy Pay point anywhere in Kenya.
Baba boy, yani bado nakunywa chai wewe. Nani atakamua ng'ombe, apatie buzi mereo, afungulie
Natural beer, sugar-free, truly Kenyan.
Welcome back to KTN Prime.
Every year, thousands die from preventable diseases in Kenya. Today, a 350 million shillings 5-year project to improve access to quality of health workforce training was launched. Funzo Kenya, a landmark project supported by the United States Agency for International Development, or USAID, is aimed at increasing the numbers of trained health workers and addressing the country's health challenges of shortage, high turnover and inadequate distribution in the health system, in tandem with Vision 2030.
Officiated by U.S. Ambassador Scott Gresham at Kenyatta Hospital College of Health, Funzo Kenya, a 5-year project with a 3.4 billion shilling boost by United States Agency for International Development, USAID, will support the Ministry of Health, training institutions, health sector regulatory bodies, and the private sector to improve health systems in Kenya.
As Kenya moves to a devolved system, it's absolutely critical to get sufficient healthcare workers in the counties. This is going to be absolutely critical.
As Kenya strategizes on improving her health system, the sector will have to deal with challenges like the high turnover, inequitable distribution, and importantly, shortage of health workers. This to enable the ability to start a process to recruit, train, and sustain confident healthcare workers.
It is the human resource factor that really makes the difference in healthcare.
The need for the health sector to be brought up to speed and exploiting modern technology is key, as the world is currently linked with information systems to improve capacity building.
When they go to the pharmacy, they can check on their smartphone, does the barcode of this drug really tell me that it's the drug that I needed? There's a number they can call, and the Pharmacy and Poison Board can advise accordingly.
Currently, the country faces a dilemma of the relevance of the health workers trained under the old system of education.
How do we know that somebody who got an MRCP in 1977 still should hang that certificate on his wall and claim greatness on the basis of accreditation in Britain?
While Funzo Kenya is expected to turn around the health services, health of Kenyans across the country is wanting.
Tuberculosis is on the rise, and we still have too many people drinking unsafe water and living with malnutrition and walking around with their feet infested with jiggers.
Across the world, a mother dies in childbirth every hour, a newborn every 20 minutes, a child under 5 every 4 minutes from preventable diseases, a situation that can be prevented if proper community health care is provided. For KTN Prime, I am Joy Doreen Bira.
African governments have been urged to nurture young innovators who seek to develop the continent through science and technology. President Kibaki, who opened the first African Forum on Science, Technology and Innovation, called on leaders to offer attractive employment opportunities to the youth as a way of curbing brain drain from the continent. The forum brought together science experts, innovators and ministers from more than 50 African countries.
We don't need to constantly reinvent the wheel. We don't need to constantly develop new programs, new resolutions. Let us make that which we've agreed upon actually work for the continent.
It is absolutely necessary for Africa to tap the potential so as to transform its economies by increasingly taking ownership and participation in science and technology, and simultaneously committing to building human capital.
An important strategy in this connection is the urgent need to control and reverse the massive brain drain out of the continent. Some of Africa's brightest sons and daughters are working in foreign nations, and we need to attract them back home.
Elsewhere, Roads Minister Franklin Bett has issued a 90-day ultimatum to the contractor building the Voi Taveta Road to complete the construction or have the contract terminated. The Roads Minister went on a surprise visit to Voi after receiving complaints that the contractor had deserted the area without completing the job. Bett revealed that the construction was initiated a year ago and only 7% of the work has been completed so far. Bett warned that he would terminate the contract if the 45-kilometer stretch is not completed in the next 90 days. Bett also said that the ultimatum will serve as a warning to other contractors who are notorious for duping the government.
I'm giving him an opportunity to perform as was required in the contract. These 90 days is a moratorium kind of before I take action to terminate this contract.
James Karani is coming up with the business.
To keep it KTN Prime.
Natural beer, sugar-free, truly Kenyan.
Mi mamangu angeweza kunipeleka secondary juu hakuwa na pesa. Hao watu wa afya tu walituchukua wakatupeleka college. Wanatusaidia, wanatucancel, wanatuletea forum, tunaenda tunafanya vitu mob. At least walikuwa kituepusha na maneno mingi sana hapa nje, watu keep busy. Na ningependa kuumiza watu wa community, kuna wasichana wengine wengi hapa nje na vijana wanaingilianga maneno ya drugs, wanaenda kuolewa mapema, wanapata mimba, wengine vijana wameingilia wizi, wanauliwa bure. Kama wanaweza wasaidia pia hao, at least pia wao kuna kitu wanaweza jimudu kwa life yao.
Wape mkono wa upendo. Wasaidie watoto mayatima na waliohoi katika eneo unaloishi.
Every drop of Keringet that seeps through the Mount Forest is filtered by volcanic rock and is finally put into a bottle. That's how natural it is. Filtered by nature, bottled at source.
Nature's power now comes in the luxury of natural. From Imperial Leather. Natural from Imperial Leather. Nature protects best.
You taste like home to me.
KTN Business Today, in association with CBA.
We can make the most of what we have. CBA, time for more.
A very good evening to you. It's Tuesday, the 3rd of April. Time for KTN Business Today with me, James Karani. And in just a while, we'll tell you or we answer one of the questions that most Kenyans have been asking. And this is, how will the country's resources be shared once we get to the county government? So stay tuned for that. We'll be telling you the government's plan in just a while. The Central Bank of Kenya's top policy organ, the Monetary Policy Committee, is expected to meet on Wednesday, that's tomorrow, to review benchmark lending rates. However, ahead of this meeting, analysts are indicating that the CBR will be held at 18% for the 5th month in a row. KTN's Michael Karanja with the full details.
Since late 2011, the Central Bank of Kenya has been employing a tight fiscal and monetary stance as it tries to rein in high inflation and volatile foreign exchange. But over the last 3 months, the rate of inflation has been slowing down, reaching 15.61%, the lowest level since July last year, an indication that CBK could be considering a rate cut. However, with component indexes rising across the consumer price inflation basket, analysts believe it will be premature to see the MPC lower the CBR rate and instead hold it steady a while longer.
The central bank and the larger policy-making fraternity, they're better off still watching the risks and how they unfold and whether there's a possibility that they can flare out.
And I expect the MPC to maintain it at 18%. If they reduce it, it will be very marginal. We're talking about 100, 150 basis points.
Obviously, they cannot go lower than the CBR rate at 18%.
CBK was widely criticized last year for failing to react early enough when inflation surged to double digits and appears to have learned from its past gaffe, employing a tough monetary stance to stay ahead of the inflation curve. Last month, the bank said it aims to slow down private sector credit growth to only 18% by June this year, to reduce the amount of cash chasing too few goods and too few dollars as a major strategy to reduce pressure on inflation.
As far as credit money creation process is concerned, I think the CBK needs to arrest and actually slow it down going forward.
They want to be conservative. They don't want to give the market the wrong signal.
Even as a country awaits the MPC to take a move, Kenya's huge import bill driven by energy sector demands is worrisome, as non-food inflation is likely to headline in 2012. Michael Karanja, KTN Business Today.
Let's go to the story that it hinted earlier on, and Treasury is developing a revenue-sharing ratio for county governments to enable them to have equitable distribution of resources. According to Finance Minister Njeri Githai, the ratio will first of all be informed by revenue sharing on recurrent and development expenditure. Speaking on the sidelines of the opening of an EcoBank branch in Karen, Githai also said that a personnel ratio would be developed for county governments to stem off bloated staff. Already, county treasury officials are being recruited ahead of the implementation of county governments after the coming general elections.
We are also coming up with ratios because, as I said, if county governments or governors turn county governments into employment bureaus, which is very popular. I mean, if you promise all money you see from central government, you'll be paying salaries. You'll be very popular, but you'll not be able to deliver services to the county residents. So we want to come up with ratios, first of all, between recurrent expenditure and development.
App stores have become the main developer to consumer distribution channel in recent years, with developers gaining popularity. The increased usage of handheld devices, local corporates are also taking up the space. KTN's Bonitunya had a chat with Nokia's Agatha Gikunda during Out Daytime Business Show on how corporates can utilize these apps.
As far as downloads, we've had over 10 million downloads in East Africa, and we're having over 1 million downloads a month. So consumers are engaging more and more and more, and we're seeing tremendous growth, actually. So a lot of consumers are now understanding what an app is, and what we're finding is more and more consumers are using apps to connect to the internet, to find information. So instead of just going to the internet browser, instead they're using an app to get this information. Yeah.
Now, when you talk about apps, what comes in mind is just games or fancy stuff.
Yeah.
How does this relate to business?
Well, yeah, that's interesting. But actually, Distima, which is one of the leading research companies globally when it comes to app stores, found that 91% of the top brands globally have an app in an app store, right? So brands already around the world have recognized that app stores are a key way to engage with consumers, to put content that is engaging and that consumers will consistently look at. So app stores aren't just for games, right? They're for different things. I always say it's like going to a supermarket, right? There's something in it for everybody. You could get your milk, but you could also buy a TV. So app stores are pretty much the same thing. There's something in it for everybody. So there are games, but there are also a lot of brands that have realized this is a key way to engage with consumers who are not necessarily interested in looking at the TV or looking at the billboards or looking at the newspaper advertisements.
And of course, you can catch KTN Financial Markets live every day here on KTN on the weekdays at 2 p.m. And it's just a day after the government announced plans to beef up security in key tourist destinations over Easter. The situation seems not to have been fully addressed, as our reporter in Mombasa, Esther Kahumbi, found out and filed the following report.
Over 300,000 people are said to use the Likoni Channel, the gateway linking Mombasa Island to the south coast, handling almost the largest group of people at any given minute, an easy target for would-be terrorists. 2 days after the twin blasts in Mtwapa and Tononoka, you would expect to have heightened security in such areas. Only the situation is different. The heavy human traffic too much for the two guards placed to screen the passengers. Private businesses now have been forced to take the matter into their own hands.
With Easter now just days away and Mombasa being an obvious holiday destination, the hotel industry here has had to do a quick rethink of the security measures put in place.
In fact, we have about 15 guards on duty, and we have undercover security also who are not in uniform. just to ensure that they are monitoring whatever is going within the hotel.
Recently, we just had to take a decision even to change the current security provider to a new one as a way of improving the efficiency.
Those measures coming in at an extra cost to the industry players who expect to cash in on the Easter weekend.
It's going as an extra cost for us, and of course we are not passing that to the tourists because we know it is their safety is to our benefit.
Before the attacks Sunday, most hotels had made 60% bookings, a fear of cancellations now rife. This is despite the Kenya Tourist Board saying no cancellation has been reported so far. Esther Kahumbi, KTN Business Today.
And of course, we hope you have a good one, whatever your travel destination will be this coming Easter. Well, and I'll leave you with KTN's financial markets review when it comes to how the Kenyan shilling performed vis-a-vis all the international currencies. Not much to talk about this evening because all eyes are on the MPC's decision tomorrow. Take a look at this.
KTN Business Today, in association with CBA.
We can make the most of what we have. CBA, time for more.
Kazi yangu hapa ni kuchunga watoto ambao mama yao alikufa, mmoja mama yao alikufa na baba. Mmoja mama ndiye alikufa, baba yuko na baba ni mlevi. Na mmoja nilipata kama narogota machoma. Hii watoto wanataka chakula. Bila kumpatia hao chakula wanakumbuka pale. Wengine wanakumbuka mama yao, ule ya kurogota chuma na kumbuka kurogota chuma. Wanakumbuka mambo mengi. Community wajitolee. Kwa hizi watoto wanarandaranda na wale baba yao walikufa, wapeleka watoto shule, wampatia hao chakula, wapende hao kama watoto yao. Kama tunawacha hii watoto, watu gani tajenga Kenya?
Wape mkono wa upendo. Wasaidie watoto mayatima na waliohoi katika eneo unaloishi.
Je, unapenda na kuelewa vyema kabumbu? Basi chukua mic.
Bonga boli katika ulimwengu wako wa mabingwa Super Sport.
Kwa wakazi wa Mombasa, tutakuwa pale Wild Waters Nyali tarehe 13 hadi tarehe 15 Aprili. Wenyeji wa Kisumu mje pale Aga Khan Hall tarehe 20 hadi tarehe 22, alafu tuje tumalizie hapa Nairobi Prestige tarehe 26 hadi tarehe 29 Aprili.
2,500 kilometers, 5 pickups, 1 truck. Don't miss the Nissan Challenge every day from Monday at 8:30 p.m. exclusive on KTN. The Nissan Challenge. Get ready for the ride of your life.
Welcome to the